And with me is Steve Buchanan. How are you doing, Steve?
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's a joy and a pleasure to have you here, sir. So we're here with Altitude Show for our high school students to help them understand what it's like, what a day in a life might be for an IT professional, engineer, or mathematician or scientist. But in this case, it's really an honor to have a person of your caliber here that is deep into the technology. So for our youth out there, you're going to get to hear quite a few interesting things from Mr. Buchanan here. So we're going to start out a little bit talking about your education. So tell us a little bit about where you're at today and in terms of your career, and then what you think your education path was getting there. So for example, some people go to 4-year degrees, some people go to 2 years degrees, some people go certificates, and then the latest thing is really trying to buck, the system, although those 4-year degrees are very important still and beyond, but there's a lot of young folks coming out just going straight certificates, self-taught and all that. So we're just excited that you're here and you could share a little bit of your background with us. So,
yeah, so like you stated, right, there's many different options from a career education standpoint to get into IT and like grow. And you could come out and you could do a coding boot camp, or you could go the 4-year degree route. You could go for certifications. You gotta like map out where you want to be in the end, and maybe you don't know, but do like 5-10 year plan. And then work backwards.
That's interesting. So you're saying like even when you were coming out of high school, what were you thinking about when you came out of high school?
Yeah, so I landed a IT job like my senior year of high school. So I finished my credits. So I didn't really have to go to school, right?
Oh, you're one of them guys that did all your credits early. Okay.
So I wanted to work and make more money, and I just landed a job doing like miscellaneous work for a small computer company, and they were like, "We'll teach you about computers."
Well,
I'm like, "Cool." I was really just looking at the hourly wage, right?
Right.
And I'm
Good
like,
money.
"Oh, yeah, for a teenager." And then I'm like, "Okay, they'll teach me about computers." I got in there, they started teaching me. And I got into networking, and that's when I caught the bug.
Okay.
It was like, this is really cool.
So you said something very interesting. It's what you didn't say that I found very interesting was, many of us start out just opening boxes and organizing and sorting parts or doing very menial jobs, right? And I think it's a misnomer or a bad message to send the audience, right? That says like you came out balling, you jumped from 17, 18 years old into the Mercedes with a management of staff and working for a major consulting company, right? So just share a tiny little bit about, if you could share one or two of the jobs that you were like, why am I doing this? Do you have any of those experiences?
Oh yeah.
Share
So
one or
like,
two if you can do
like,
that.
like the first job, right? It was a small company. So the owner of the company also owned the building. So like, I had to tar the roof.
Oh no!
Like that.
The building maintenance.
Yeah, like repair the parking lot. But so when there wasn't computer work to do for customers,
you had to do.
He was finding miscellaneous stuff for me to do.
So he put you to work.
Put me to work, but it taught me a lot, right? A lot of the work that I was asked to do was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I've never done it before, but it helped build character.
Absolutely.
It definitely helped build character. And then I've been in help desk jobs before. Like that's kind of the starting point for a lot of people. And no one wants to sit there and answer calls all day and like do tech support. But again, it builds character.
Would you agree with this statement that a lot of software people generally start in that customer service help desk area, and a lot of hardware people go like the A+ certification route and then work behind the scenes in the break fix or the help desk?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Like software developers might start out like doing QA or testing, stuff like that. That's, the kind of jobs that folks don't want to stay in for a long time, or they're just kind of getting started. And then, in the hardware, or what I like to say, the infrastructure side, typically start out with maybe like A+ type jobs, or like I was a PC tech.
Okay.
Right, so I was building computers, building servers, and kind of started there, or maybe even help desk.
Yeah.
Just kind of work your way up.
Trust me, you're giving me flashbacks. I was in IT for so long, I remember all those things. Matter of fact, I had to count mail in the mailroom before the word processors and all that stuff to help justify the Wang word processor.
Yeah.
I had to count like 100 mail slots out to regional offices and independent reps and figure out how much mail was going out to see if they could afford to pay for the word processor. And the word processor was bigger than this room practically. So, but anyway, this story isn't about me, it's about you, right? So Steve, today's high school graduate, that maybe is going to come out, they need to start preparing now. So this audience is 11th and 10th and 9th graders. Is there any particular big thing, whether it's, software, studying Python maybe, or JavaScript, or should they focus in on A+ in hardware? Is there anything in the industry that leads them to those higher paying, higher end jobs like cloud, server analyst or server support administrator or developer, right? Can you give any advice on that?
Yeah, so like back when I was starting out, there wasn't a lot of like IT programs in high schools, and there is now. Like a lot of high schools offer different classes. And I would say try a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Because at that age, you may not know if you want to become a programmer or go on the infrastructure side, or maybe you want to be a database person, or maybe you want to manage like big projects, right? Who knows what you might want to do?
Sure.
You still have a lot of time ahead of you.
Sure.
So try a little bit of everything. And then kind of start to look at what jobs are out there in the careers and understand what people are doing in those careers. And then again, figure out where you want to go. And that may change over time, and that's okay. But figure out how other people reached like that status and then work backwards from there.
Love it.
Like, okay, this person's a CIO. How did they become a CIO? What certifications did they have? What jobs did they have before they became a CIO? What kind of education do I need to have? Can I go to a boot camp? Do I need that 4-year degree? Yeah. Do I need A+ cert? Do I need to go learn Python? Right? And once you kind of study how that person made it to where they are, work backwards from there and apply that towards your own career.
Well, that's a perfect segue. So what do you do today? What is your career?
So today I'm a cloud architect.
Okay.
And so I work with like Fortune 500 companies and help them move to cloud or help them with like DevOps. I do a variety of different projects, right? So I lead like teams of onshore and offshore folks, and I do a lot of stuff.
So what kind of titles, you talk about leading teams, because that's one of the things we talk about in our Power Up IT sessions is being able to manage or communicate with people across the globe, around the time zones, right? So how many, tell us what a typical, very briefly, are you on the telephone? Are you on video conferences? Are you up at 2 in the morning? Are you in Japan? Where are you at in the world when it comes to a typical managing your staff or time zone?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very consultant answer. It depends, right? So,
I can tell you work for a big Fortune. Yeah.
So every day is different, right? I might be up at 6 a.m. because I'm on calls, I'm on meetings. I might be up at 10:30 at night, I'm on a call, or I'm doing some sort of work, or day might end early. It just kind of depends. I work from home a lot, which is awesome, especially when you live in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And
especially with the weather that we get in the winter,
right.
like the snow and the blizzards.
But sometimes I have to travel, and it depends, right? I've been working with clients where I'm in Tampa, Tampa Bay, and I'm sitting in an office overlooking the ocean, and that's my office for the week, right?
Incredible.
But I've been in other places where you're literally out in the cornfields.
Sure.
And you're struggling to find a place to eat for lunch, right?
Yep.
So it depends. But every day is different.
Sure. In your teams, I'm just curious because this has come up as a common theme in some of the other interviews. Do you find yourself being the only person of color in those types of situations?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, that's
whether it matters, but
that's the industry. It's changing. It's slowly changing, but that's the industry.
Sure.
Now, the company I work for, we actually have a black CEO who's a woman, that's amazing. And so the company I work for, diversity and inclusion is not just a checkbox, right? We're saying this so we can look good in the market.
It's a human experience.
Right.
It's just exactly who you are. It's a human experience.
So, but On our teams, there is a fair amount of diversity, but it still has a long ways to go.
Sure, sure.
Right.
And that comes up like the students that, we typically address are all from a variety of different ethnicities. And so it's really important that they understand that part of this too is developing their own hustle, their own technology, their own portfolio of skills so that they can stand on their work, right? So, because times have been changing and it's just not a gimme that you're gonna come out of high school or college or wherever and then end up in a job just because somebody's trying to fill a check mark anymore.
Yeah, it's a grind. And when you first start out, you're probably not going to make what you want to make. Maybe even 5 years into it, you may not make what you want to make. But in the space of IT and tech in general, I mean, you can make really good money.
Yeah.
That's comparable to
Yeah, the Steve Buchanan money, right?
I mean, you could make doctor, lawyer money. You could make, I mean, you could do really, really well.
You can.
But you have to, my strategy and recommendation for folks is that are coming into IT is like, figure out your core, right? Get those core skills, whether you are going to do programming, whether you're on infrastructure side, you know the stuff I'm talking about. Like, if you're infrastructure, you should know the OSI model. You should know how to subnet, right? Stuff like that. You need to get that core down. Once you get that core and you get some experience under your belt, then you specialize. And when you start to specialize, that's when your career can really take off. And in the day and time that we're living in, it's important to build a brand and protect that brand, right? So you start to specialize and then kind of build a brand around the area that you specialize in. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of do that. For myself, I've actually written 6 books, tech books, and I have one right now that's with the production, and it'll be released
Very good.
in the next month.
We'll have to make sure that we get those covers so we can insert them into the show. So
Yeah, I'll definitely share that with you.
Please do. Please.
Another avenue is like speaking, right, at different events and stuff. There's a lot of tech conferences. It's one way to expand your brand and also to learn, right? When you have to speak about something or, teach others about something, you need to learn it really well.
Yeah. Third person teaching, right?
Yep.
And that's the beauty of a lot of these students, and even in the Minnesota STEM Partnership, our programs, we actually try to have other students teaching other students, because that's very important, that whole concept of stewardship and giving back. But then just the effort of having to teach somebody else, it makes you think a lot differently.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Definitely.
And it's important to give back, right? It's important to expand and share your knowledge. At least that's what I believe, is like sharing your knowledge and building that community.
Sure. So, you've covered education, you've covered career, and so we're going to talk a little bit about lifestyle just to see how we spend all that Steve Buchanan money. So, Steve, what hobbies do you have, or beyond what you do to earn your income, do you have any other hobbies or things you love to do that you can share with the youth so that they know they can enjoy the fruits of their labor later on?
Yeah, I mean, I spend most of my spare time like with my family, right?
Nice.
So I like to play basketball, work out.
Okay.
I like to travel for fun. So like this weekend, I'm going to Europe.
Nice.
And I'm going there to speak at a conference, but it's, I'm going to see some different things, second time in Europe.
Sure.
Right?
That's fantastic.
So being able to do stuff like that,
No, you have a great brand, like you said, protecting that image. And, that's another thing we try to reinforce too, is when students are out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and then now they got TikTok and all this stuff and they're putting up these crazy videos. It's like, be careful what you post, because that stuff is permanent, right?
Yep.
So when you do come out and you're trying to be that IT professional or that STEAM professional, be a doctor or a scientist, they're going to go back to a couple of TikTok videos that you did doing some stupid stuff, right? So protecting that brand, and like every day I'm seeing like Steve Buchanan. So yeah, you got to keep relevant, keep current. And you must be covered on every social media platform too, right? So you actually created this brand to be.
I'm actually not on like Instagram. I stopped with like Twitter and LinkedIn are my 2 primary platforms.
And those are business. LinkedIn is definitely more businessy for sure.
Yeah.
But I always catch you on Twitter, especially there's some very interesting things that pop up every once in a while that I try to grab and forward and proliferate.
There's a ton of stuff on Twitter, and that's the thing. Like different platforms you might leverage for different things, right? If you're a UI, tech person, you might leverage like Instagram more than someone like me, right? Or even Pinterest.
Yeah, that's very true.
So.
Well, Steve, thank you. Is there any parting words, anything you wanted to say to the students before we go? You've said a lot, but.
Just for the students, like the tech field is actually very exciting. There's a lot of different areas you can grow in. This is a field where, you can make good money to take care of your family, take care of yourself, turn it into a career. You could come into tech as a developer and create things, right? There's a lot of different avenues that you can go in this field. Yeah. You don't have to just go down the normal, like, standard path, right?
Right,
So.
right, exactly. Well, thank you.